And my belief is if you can do 10 pull-ups, you should be able to do a muscle up.
Today we're going to find out if that's true or not. Hello and welcome to Calisthenics Mythbusters. My name is Adam Savage. Joining me today is Jamie Heineman. And today we're going to be testing out a claim that I've heard a few times on the internet, and that is that 10 pull-ups equals 1 muscle up. I've mainly heard that in that video that I just showed. We're going to be testing that out on myself. Now, if you've seen some of my other content on this channel, you might be wondering how that's gonna work because I'm a little bit past being able to do 10 pull-ups, but don't worry about that. I've thought of some very interesting ways to get around that problem. And the advantage to testing it on myself is that I have the skill portion of the movement pretty refined, so we can really isolate the strength component of the movement, which is the only thing that 10 pull-ups is going to test anyways. Oh yeah, and let me quickly mention what kind of muscle up we're going to be talking about in this video, because I know there are more than a few. There's the kip up, the kipping bar muscle up, the strict bar muscle up, the ring muscle up, and a ton of other ones. But from what I've seen, most people are going for the kipping bar muscle up. And that's also the one that Adam Frater referenced in his video. So that's what we're gonna strictly be testing today. So enough jibber jabber John, how the hell are you going to test this theory if you can already do more than 10 pull-ups? Well, I actually thought of 2 ways that are pretty genius in my opinion. The first method is to test how heavy of a weighted muscle up I can do with a weight vest on, and then put that same weight on and see how many pull-ups I can do. Not too shabby of an idea, right? I know this isn't gonna be a perfect test, so that's why we have the second test. That's gonna be to fatigue myself so much that I can only do a little bit more than 10 pull-ups, then attempt the muscle up and see if I can do it. If I can, I'll just keep fatiguing myself and do it until I can't do a muscle up at all, and that should give us a number of pull-ups. So I think with both of these tests averaged out, we can probably get a pretty good idea of how accurate this 1 to 10 claim is. And if all else fails, I have a poll going on Reddit right now, just so we could see what the community's experience is like. So with all of that out of the way, let's jump into our first test. So like I mentioned earlier, it doesn't matter how heavy we go here, it just needs to be my 1 rep max. But it always feels good to do a lot of weight. 10 pounds wasn't too hard, let's try and go for a bit more. Not exactly what I was expecting, but maybe we just need some more chalk. Alright, still no dice. Time to take off the shirt, chalk up, and channel every bit of Magnus Mitbo for extra power. It was so close, but it looks like 15 pounds is just a little bit out of the wheelhouse, so we're gonna dump one of these little 2.5 pound weights, and no surprise, we got it. So now we're gonna use that same weight to see how many pull-ups we could do. Remember that we're looking to get around 10 if this theory is to be true. And we flew a little bit past that. So 15 is our magic number with the 12.5 pounds of weight on us. Pretty interesting results for our first test here. I honestly thought it would be a lot closer to 10, but let's get into the second test and see what kind of results we get with that. So like I said earlier, the second test is just gonna be to fatigue myself a bit so I can just barely do a muscle up. Just doing a bunch of pull-ups here, and I've gotten to about 13 pull-ups here. I have probably one more than I could do, and I'm just gonna save a little bit of my strength and test out the muscle up. Uh-oh, I think I might have over-fatigued myself. I thought that 14 would be a good starting point, and I took 5 minutes of rest before trying this muscle-up. Let's rest a little bit more. Alright, all rested up, crossing my fingers I can get it now. And what is happening? That one felt so much easier. So easy, I think I could do another one. This isn't boding well for this test. Alright, I'm thoroughly confused. I don't think I'm able to do more than 14 pull-ups still. Let's test it really quick. And look at that, exactly 14 pull-ups. Pretty much the same thing that we saw on the previous test, but I couldn't even do a muscle-up. So at this point, this is making no sense to me. Sometimes when I could do 14 pull-ups, I could do 2 muscle-ups, and sometimes I can't do any. Looks like this test might not be the best for figuring out if this myth is true. If only there was another way to test this while I'm here, but there's absolutely no chance that... Wait, who is that? This is Ivan. And I couldn't have asked for a better person to randomly show up at the pull-up bars to test this out with, because Ivan can do about 12 very clean pull-ups. So of course we roped him into this test. I gave him a few pointers on how to do a muscle-up with some of my favorite techniques and cues. And he was a fast learner to say the least. After a few attempts, guess what Ivan was able to do? A muscle-up. You could see he had no problem doing that, and that was actually the second muscle-up that he did with me. The first one, the camera died on, so I didn't get all of the clips in there. But after that, I showed him some front lever exercises, and he let me know that this was actually the second muscle-up he had ever done in his life. His first was when he was able to do about 17 pull-ups. So Ivan was definitely the ideal candidate for being able to learn the muscle-up at his strength level. But this did give us a great real-world example of this theory not being too far off of true. Thanks again, Ivan, for letting me film you and for the nice chat. So let's quickly finish up our test number 2, and it turns out I'm getting really fatigued at this point. I must have overdone it a little bit with the front lever holds, but now I can only do 7 pull-ups as my max. So you can guess how this last muscle-up attempt of the day went. So there we have it with all the testing. Now it's time to check our Reddit poll to see how it's doing. So it looks like about 300 of you answered the poll on Reddit, and pretty close to 50% of the people said that they could do more than 10 pull-ups and can't do a muscle-up. And more interesting, less than 5% of people said they could do less than 10 pull-ups and are able to do a muscle-up. And most importantly, over 80% of the people that answered this poll thought that this theory was wrong. So here is the final verdict. One weighted muscle-up was about 15 weighted pull-ups for me personally. One muscle-up when I was fatigued was between 14 and 8 pull-ups, and one muscle-up was around 12 pull-ups for Ivan, and 95% of the people on Reddit said it was more than 10 pull-ups for them. So all signs are pointing to it's slightly possible for those really far outliers, but you're likely gonna have more than 10 pull-ups before you can muscle up. I would say probably between 12 and 20. Now there's a lot more we can get into about regular pull-ups and why they might not have the best carryover to the muscle up. I personally think a lot of people are actually sleeping on the front lever row as a way to achieve the muscle up, but I can dive into that more in a later video if you're interested. So if you want to see that video, make sure you hit subscribe. If you like this video, make sure to hit that like button. It's free and it really helps me out. And until next time, good luck on your training. Peace.